Putting Philadelphia Back to Work, Solar as a Tool for Economic Recovery. We wanted to pull this session together knowing how timely the work of the energy campaign is around job creation and connecting the dots between solar deployment and workforce development in this time when that is more important than ever before. So you can go to the next slide. So just quickly, I'll share this is one of many events we have happening during Philadelphia Solar Week. We had our first annual Solar Week last year, and it was such a success, so we wanted to continue it. It's really an opportunity for us to both celebrate all the progress we've made in Philadelphia as one of the fastest growing solar markets in the country. We have the largest single solarized campaign in the country, and actually this September, in 2 weeks, we're kicking off the nation's first vocational solar training program for high school students. So we're doing a lot of firsts here in Philly, and I'm so honored that we're joined by City Council President Darrell Clark, who will be kicking off this webinar to share from his perspective in leadership at the city level. Council President has been so integral to our work at the Philadelphia Energy Authority. In fact, it was due to his leadership that we kicked off the Philadelphia Energy Campaign in 2016 with the goal of creating 10,000 jobs over 10 years, and we're on track to do that. So honored to have you join us. We'll go ahead and pass it off to you, Council President. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Laura. Thank you. And good morning, everybody. It's another exciting day in the city of Philadelphia as we start our second annual Solar Week. I have to tell you that to preference my remarks that I'm probably the least knowledgeable person as it relates to solar in this particular meeting, as I was when I first got engaged. So I know a little more than I did before, but not as much as all of you. So I just want to commend all of you for your awesome energy that you bring to the table, your investment, your interest in solar energy. I can recall just over 4 years ago when we all stood on the stage at the Academy of Music, and we were announcing the inauguration and investiture of the new council and the new mayor, and we were pretty excited about the future. And lo and behold, I stood there and I didn't actually tell a lot of people that we said that through utilizing solar energy, we're going to create like 10,000 jobs. And a lot of people are like, what in the world is he talking about, right? But I saw something in the people that were engaged in this very, very significant industry, and they had a vision and had no idea whether or not we were going to reach that goal of 10,000 jobs. But lo and behold, here we are today on track to do that. So I just want to say how appreciative on behalf of the city council and to some degree on behalf of the city that you took that vision to another level. I'm particularly interested in the fact that we figured out a way to get young people engaged in a meaningful way, not your usual suspects as it relates to being involved in these types of industry. Understand that we have a number of young people on the phone, on the phone Zoom, whatever, right? On the Zoom today to talk about this and I want to give you all kudos. I like the fact that as we launched the Solar Energy Career and Technical Education Initiative, this is very, very important because the simple reality is, and we're seeing it more so than now, that there will be a new normal. And the new normal will include solar. It will include significant levels of technology that we've never experienced before. So being ahead of the curve in launching this solar initiative will put us in a much better place as it relates to us moving ahead on the agenda. So to all the folks involved in the energy office, guys, thank you so much. It's unfortunate we can't be crammed up in those little small offices as we traditionally are in City Hall, but it's a new normal. But I know you all are hard at work. Look forward to seeing you all soon, and to all of the people that are engaged as it relates to dealing with solar installation and all the other important, significant initiatives we're working on. I just want to say how proud I am of what you're doing, how happy I am that you all are doing it, because we are clearly ahead of the curve as it relates to the city of Philadelphia and moving this industry forward. So keep up the awesome work. Look forward to continuing to move down this path to creating 10,000 jobs. So thank you, Laura. Turn it back to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here, Council President. We definitely
You're welcome.
miss seeing you all around in City Hall, but glad that we can make this kind of event possible so that folks can sign in from all over the city and engage in the conversation. I know we are live streaming this on Facebook as well, so excited to have that visibility for this type of event. So I'm so delighted to have a full lineup of speakers this morning to dive deeper into really what solar can do to drive the economic recovery. So we are lucky to be joined by Sean Garrison, Director of Congressional Affairs from the Solar Energy Industries Association. And Sean's going to be sharing a national perspective with us today on the power of solar and the potential of the industry to really play a major role in the economic recovery post-COVID. So we are so delighted to have Sean here. We've started engaging more deeply with SEIA over the recent months as they've been imagining what's next at the federal level and looking at the work we're doing here at the local level in Philadelphia as a potential model for other cities. So look forward to hearing your comments, Sean, and then that'll be followed by Devin Hamilton, who will be providing comments from PowerCore PHL about our Bright Solar Futures program, and Spencer Wright, who's the trainer for our Bright Solar Futures programs from Solar States. So they'll both be going into more detail on what we're doing here on the ground at the workforce development level. So thanks so much, and I'll pass it over to you, Sean.
Thank you so much. Getting off of mute, that's the one thing you got to make sure you do right during this day and age. So I'm good. I'm here. I appreciate you, and thanks for the opportunity. Again, I'm Sean Garrison. I'm one of the Director of Congressional Affairs at the Solar Energy Industries Association. And just very briefly, SEIA is comprised of almost 1,000 members, represent solar manufacturers and installers throughout the United States. Founded in 1924, we're headquartered in DC. And we make sure that Congress hears both from a communication standpoint and from a policy standpoint what impacts solar community, what impacts the solar industry, particularly on the policy front. One of the great things about SEIA is that they're nationwide, and they touch different energy realms that are across the nation. You have places that are, maybe a huge fossil fuel source, like some areas in the Midwest, but solar is penetrated throughout there. I was asked to talk about a few things briefly, and I have a kind of leaning towards Congress, so excuse that and don't fault me for that. But SEIA, starting this year in, our thought was about 2030, our goal was to have 20% of the electric generation throughout the United States. We're still on that path. Unfortunately, COVID has thrown some wrenches into that, and I'll dive deeper into that in just a second. But that was our path. If you look at utilities over the past, I would say from the beginning of the Obama administration till now, utilities have come to the senses that, look, we're going to retire a lot of our fossil fuel. We're going to have a lot more clean energy on the grid, and we're going to put that in our IRPs, our integrated resource plans, which has many utilities 20-year plans on what they're going to look like. And solar is a major part of that. We have to continue to develop on the storage front, but solar in and of itself, the cost, if you think about 15 years before this to now, they've significantly decreased, and they're significantly decreasing as we continue to work these issues. So I'll briefly touch on that. I guess linking solar adoption and economic development was something else I was asked to discuss, and there's a huge weavement there. Right now, and we're dealing with this with Congress right now, you have fossil fuel entities that are retiring, some coal plants, some of them converting to natural gas. You have a workforce there that wants to move on over, or they're either retiring or they want to shift over. So we're responsible for that. The solar industry is a major component of that. You also just have in a lot of the callers on the phone today, high school students who are thinking about career moves. What's the next move in your life? How do we work to continue to help students that are in high school, maybe going to college, or even in the community college realm? How do we keep them ingratiated and let them be a part of this solar revolution, which is huge? As the councilman spoke of earlier, there's just a plethora of jobs. This year, we estimated we would add almost 50,000 jobs. I'll dive into the COVID issues real quick before I turn it back over. But that's been semi-depleted, but hopefully economic things change and going into 2021 in the future, we're the future of energy. So just pointing that out. The Washington end, and the end I really have a passion for and that I'm around, and the impacts of COVID on the solar industry. They've been great. They've been huge. So you think about solar, you have kind of two different buckets there. You have your distributed generation, your folks that have installs on their homes, and then you have the utility scale side. About COVID, you think about that distributed generation, those folks that are door to door selling solar panels, getting solar installed. Of course, there's been some tepidness around having that work continue to grow during COVID. Now things are getting better. I just read an article about New York actually being able to grow during this crisis, post this crisis, but the distributed generation side is suffering tremendously because there's a face-to-face interaction. The utility scale, those very large solar panel arrays you may see as you're driving across. I know in Philadelphia, there's a huge one on Lincoln Financial Field. Those type of projects have still been able to keep themselves going, but they've faced some economic difficulties, and I will close out just talking about that and also take any questions. COVID has impacted just financing. I won't get too deep and ingratiated in that, but solar projects are financed. They're financed heavily at the beginning, and there's something called tax equity that needs to be available in order for companies and banks to have the financing available. So companies, Lincoln Financial Field, a sports entity, anyone, enable for them to be able to do a solar project. So if you look at this COVID crisis has just caused a huge domino effect on the financial industry, and it includes the solar industry. I'll tell you three things real quick. What we've been doing in Congress, the C has been pushing for what we're calling direct pay. Some companies that are SEIA members and are solar companies are benefactors of what we call the investment tax credit. That's a 30% tax credit that Congress instituted in 2005 under the Energy Policy Act. That 30% is now at 26% this year and goes to 22% in 2021. We're asking Congress to at least keep it at 26 this year or even roll it back to 30, given the fact of all the economic sadness that's been going on throughout the country. We've also been asking for direct pay. Basically, if you're a recipient of that tax credit, you get that now so you continue to thrive economically. I'll close by saying the workforce, and that's really what this webinar is about today and really what the discussion is about. When I started working with the Philadelphia Energy Authority, I want to thank Emily Shapiro for the great work she's been doing with me and just the information I've been learning from her. But the clean energy workforce, and what is the Congress doing around that? I have to be honest, and I'll also be optimistic. All right, now Congress is just trying to maintain day-to-day work. They're trying to figure out how they're going to do the COVID funding package that includes unemployment extension, that includes more money for small businesses to get through this crisis. I think it is teetering upon what's going to happen in the election and what this country look like, specifically around clean post that. We don't know how the election will end out, but I'll say a member of Congress, Representative Bobby Rush, has been carrying the torch on clean energy workforce issues. A bill that's been marked up and passed in the House. It's been discussed and included in some Senate packages. Congress, if they do get their heads together and do some clean energy work going into the next year, 2021, which we hope and we're optimistic about, both Republicans and Democrats alike are good with clean energy. Clean energy brings good businesses. But what will the Congress do? So I'll say, look out for Congress doing a clean energy standard. That's utilities will be put on a level. They will get off of fossil fuels by a certain year, which will blow up clean energy and get us to even more of it on the electric grid. And the workforce development piece, as the time right now, the discussions around diversity, discussions around inclusion, one of the things the Congress focused on, and even both sides of the aisle understand, is that businesses, and particularly clean energy, it needs to be across the board and across the table in terms of participation. So Bobby Rush's workforces bill has been a big piece, HR 1009. There's also a Senate component that we hope that, coupled with sound work within the Congress will get policy passed. It'll keep solar growing and it's toward what SEIA wants is 20% of the electric grid by 2030. With that, I'll turn it back over. Hope I didn't talk too much and thank you for the time.
This was perfect, Sean. Thank you so much for sharing. And I imagine we'll have questions toward the end, but I'd be interested to hear from you at this point. Sort of how have you seen the perspectives shift over recent years at the federal level and in Congress around solar? And do you think our representatives really see the job creation potential that's here?
I love good questions. That was a great question, and I'm not patting you on the back, and I'm serious. And I want to walk you through kind of a 15-year. I said 15 years when I was talking. So let's think about. You have to put names to popularity. So let's think about President Obama. All right, inaugurated in 2009. All right, when the president was inaugurated, he had three kind of major things that he wanted to get through: healthcare, financial reform, climate change, and trade bill. Many of all may remember. All right. You got healthcare through with 50 votes, slim majority, and it's continuing to get stripped down. You got the financial services stuff through. You didn't get you got climate change, Democrat House. The Senate was Democrat, but there were only 52 senators. So, see, it's kind of a huge world there. So this is 2009. And the thought on major climate legislation essentially died, all right? Now, climate/solar. So when you say climate, you essentially lump clean energy within that. 2009, I don't have my stats in front of me about how much solar costs per megawatt. Look at 2009, let's take it even back to 2005 when the Energy Policy Act was implemented, which brought solar the investment tax, okay? Now, solar prices were really high at that point, all right? But you take that trajectory from 2005 to 20, the cost of solar has depreciated astronomically. Members of Congress, both Republicans and Democrats, acknowledge that and appreciate. Now, politics, that nasty P word, that's there, all right? So we had efforts to try to push the COVID policies I was talking about, direct pay, ITC extension. We had 25. Now, 2005, we wouldn't have a Republican touch solar with a rod. Now, you look at 2020, during this effort around COVID, we had 25 Republicans and 25 Democrats sign a letter pushing for policies for us. We had 7 Republican senators put a letter out. Now we'll get this to you, Laura, and send it around. You can send it to whomever you please. It's public record to push policies on clean energy. That was very important. So if you look about 2005, where solar and clean energy was kind of that third rail issue, then you push forward to 2020, I would call it a 2.1 rail issue. It's not third rail. And, politicians, particularly in those in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Michigan, Illinois, Missouri, that Midwest kind of East, blue collar worker swamp, they have to be careful around pushing stuff too much for us until we get things worked out on retirements on fossil fuels. So I know it's a long way to answer your question, but I guess if you were to say I only had a half a second, policies around solar have gotten a lot better over the past 15 years. Now, this election and what we do as companies dictate how our impact on the economy is huge, and Congress understands. So, yes.
Great, thank you. Thanks so much. Well, for others who may have questions for Sean, you can go ahead and put them in the Q&A, and then towards the end, we'll open it back up. But I think for now, I'd want to pass it over to Spencer Wright. So Spencer is the Chief Education Officer at Solar States, and they are a major partner on our programs at the Energy Authority. They're a pre-approved installer for our Solarize Philly program. They're the sole installer for our low-income solar savings grant program, and Solar States is the instruction partner on Bright Solar Futures. And then they're hiring young people out of that training program. So Solar States is a real valuable partner to the clean energy transition in Philadelphia. And I am excited to be passing it over to Spencer to share his perspective from Solar States, and then also as an instructor in our training program about the importance of solar in this time of economic recovery. Thanks, Spencer.
All right. Thank you, Laura. Thank you for inviting me to speak here today. And thank all of you for participating in this awesome event, man. The Solar Week event. This is some really, really good stuff. As Laura mentioned, I'm a trainer with our solar training program with Solar States. We've done workforce development trainings with the OIC, with the ECA, School District of Philadelphia, with high school programs. We're actually building out a program now, our Bright Solar Futures program, and I participate in helping write that curriculum. I've been in the solar industry for over 11 years now. I'm a Native American, yeah, I have Native American ancestry, but I'm a native Philadelphian. And, you know, I'm proud to say that everywhere I go, when people ask, hey, where are you from? I'm from Philly. In fact, I'm more specifically from North Philly. Yeah, I mean, it's something that is a part of me, that's down inside of me, that I'm really proud of. And that good things do come out of areas where, you know, hopefully I'm a good thing and trying to make a difference, of areas that, you know, get some negative rep sometimes. So, you know, actually all of this is a part of a dream. And that, you know, I had some years back about what could be, you know, for Philly, you know, my hometown, you know. Again, I'm a native Philadelphian, so, and I'm born and raised here. I want to try to make a difference. You know, I had worked in an industry for over 28 years where I was making money, but I wasn't making a difference. And, you know, going into my 50th year of my life, I had to do some soul searching to find out what's going on, you know, with me. Like, what kind of legacy did I want to leave? What did I want to do? You know, one of the things I want to do is try to keep some of these young folk from going to prison. You know, I've had, you know, death in my own family for murder. I've had, you know, family members, myself, it's at a younger point, you know, get incarcerated. And, you know, what could I do, you know, to make the difference to try to stop that from happening, was the question that I started asking myself. Anybody that's heard me speak before, and everybody that knows me that's on this call, will know that, you know, Van Jones in his book, The Green Collar Economy, was that light bulb moment for me that woke me up. You know, the statement there that Van Jones makes, that, you know, this is not just a nice thing, but a necessary thing, and that all people should participate in it. Not like, you know, previous, things that change the course of America. You know, everyone needs to participate in this. You know, after working in that industry for over 20 years, I mean, 28 years to be specific, you know, it wasn't working for me anymore, and I needed to make a change. I'm a regular runner, you know, try to run at least every day. You know, I consider myself an outdoorsman, and I was out on one of those runs when I got this epiphany came to me that it was time to change. It just really was. To get into renewable energy, I tried wind wasn't working for me. So I went down that solar path, scraped up the $2,700 for my training, took a training here at a local school that's now, you know, no longer existing, called Infinite Solar, got that training. And then that immediately sent me off in that trajectory of how I can pay this forward. Now that I know a little bit about this, how can I pay it forward? So I realized I had to get out and get some experience first. But in the back of my mind, I kept thinking, I got to bring this back. I got to bring this back. And as fate would have it, or some might say divine intervention, I meet Laura at an event. Solar City, the company that I worked for at the time, was bought out by Tesla, and they had a huge workforce reduction. I was one of those individuals. And before I could even drop a tear about it, my wife said to me, this is the impetus that you needed to get into and get back to what you said you wanted to do. You wanted to make a difference. Here it is. Pay it forward, Spencer. She put it right in my lap as we were riding on the subway in New York City visiting my daughter. And I've been doing that. I've been working, fortunately, with some great partners, Philadelphia Energy Authority, Laura Rigel, you know, our solar manager, you know, Solar States, Micah Gold-Markell, the founder there. We've just been, you know, making this thing happen in a way that we're seeing some real results. One of the things that I regularly ask my graduates to do is to come back and speak to the students, you know, to the current students in the current cohorts. We have a student that is out there now. He came back to speak to our students, and I actually was like, whoa, did I hear you right when you said that? He's now working, making six figures. When he first came into the class, what, three years ago, I think that is now, maybe even 4, you know, he wasn't working at all. And he didn't have much of a career trajectory, but now he's making over 6 figures, and he's doing really well. And more than that, the piece that he started off with was that he was happy. he felt in control of his life, that he felt that he had direction. You know, when the classes are over, a lot of students say thank you to me. I get texts from some of the folk that are out there working now, and they'll say, thank you, Mr. Spencer, you know, you changed my life. And I always text them right back, no, thank you, because you're helping me, you know, fulfill my dream, you know, my commitment to grow this solar army, you know, the solar army that we need to make this renewable energy revolution really happen, right? We need the solar army. And again, everyone needs to participate in this, all races, all genders, you know, women. We need more folk involved in this that can bring their, you know, as we say down North Philly, the flavor to the Kool-Aid, right? We got to bring they got to bring their flavor, their sweetness, their cultural sweetness to the Kool-Aid, so that we can make this happen, man. It really is important that we all stay connected to this. You know, my charge to the graduates are always three things at the end at a graduation. I say to them, do good. You know, you're not just representing yourself, you know, out there. You know, stay loyal to your classmates, stay loyal to yourself, to your commitment to succeeding in this industry, stay loyal and committed, and pay it forward. I think that's ultimately just, you know, one of the most important things that we need to do. We need to really keep paying it forward. So again, thank you to all of you out there that own systems, that are running businesses, that are involved in this industry to help us really make this happen. You know, putting Philadelphia back to work, you know, solar as a tool for economic recovery is real. And I don't know if Laura, probably in another session, she shared numbers with you guys, but the numbers are out there to show that this really, really works. And being connected personally with so many of these young people that have gone through our classes, I'm seeing it change in their lives. You know, they're getting driver's licenses. They are making not just a living wage, but a sustainable career opportunity is now in front of them. You know, I watched the DNC last night. I don't have a teleprompter in front of me, but man, if anybody watched that, did Michelle Obama drop it? You know, I mean, I thought that was real impressive. So I'm jazzed, you know, listen to Sean's comments. I'm really jazzed about the future of solar. And I anticipate a lot of growth. And again, we need to make sure that everyone participates in this. So that's it for my comments, Laura. I didn't want to take up too much time. Did you have any questions for me that you'd like me to directly address?
I think at this point, I'd be interested to hear from you, maybe a couple of pieces. I know you talk a lot about the fact that we need a solar army. And
Yes.
what do you think that looks like? Can you just paint the picture there a little more?
First of all, it's diverse, right? Like I said, everybody bringing it there. And we don't just have individuals that, I mean, we always need that person that just wants to do the one job. But realistically, in today's world, in all businesses, the ability to wear a lot of different hats, right? We don't just talk about the how, the mechanical of fastening nuts and bolts and installing, you know, racking and, you know, building systems. We talk about the why. We give them the technical information. It's not dummied down either. It's just presented in different ways to help different folk understand why this is important and how that applies to the actual physical installation. It means more people getting solar to create jobs. You know, the jobs have to be there. One thing that frustrates me is in previous years, not our program. I think our program has been very good at this, but I have done trainings before, and then there's no real opportunity at the end of the rainbow. But with the Philadelphia Energy Authority, City of Philadelphia, you know, Council President Darrell Clark, and everybody's commitment, the mayor, the city is serious about taking things forward, right, to create job opportunities for individuals.
Yeah, totally. And so just to build on that, and as we segue into hearing from Devin Hamilton, our other workforce development partner, I'll just share some background for those who may not have it. Philadelphia Energy Authority is an independent municipal authority here in Philadelphia, set up in 2010. And then in 2016, we kicked off the Philadelphia Energy Campaign to create 10,000 jobs over 10 years through clean energy and energy efficiency projects. And as part of that, we kicked off Solarize Philly, which I mentioned Solar States is one of our pre-approved installers for, and we started seeing a real uptake in demand for solar here in Philadelphia. And so to date, we've had over 650 homeowners since 2017 go solar through that program. So it's really been driving demand. We actually saw solar listed as a high priority occupation for Philadelphia County specifically based on that high employer demand. And we know solar installer is the fastest growing occupation in the country. So with all of that in mind, we actually sat down with the school district back in 2017 and started talking about what the opportunity is here to make sure that young Philadelphians are ready to step into those positions and be that solar army that Spencer's talking about. So that's really what was the impetus for launching Bright Solar Futures. So we ran several rounds of introductory solar training for high school students between 2017 and 2019. Then we got an award from the Department of Energy for $1.25 million to scale that up. And so building on that track record with the high school introductory classes, which we have last one graduating this Friday, which I'll share more about at the end of the webinar for those who want to sign on and celebrate our most recent class of graduates. Building on that, we set out to support the school district to launch the nation's first 3-year high school solar program. So we're on track, like I mentioned at the start, to kick this off in 2 weeks at Frankford High School. It'll be the first program of its kind in the country, definitely the first ever in Pennsylvania, and the district will be using federal CTE dollars to hire the teacher there who's been brought on now. We're so excited to have him on board, and to support the program to continue. So we're really able to unlock a sustainable funding stream there. So that's one piece. And then the other piece is we have a parallel track. So we wanted to not just have this opportunity for high schoolers, but to also have an opportunity for slightly older young adults. So we were really lucky to be able to partner with PowerCore PHL. Devin Hamilton is their Assistant Director of Workforce Development, and he'll be sharing more about their organization. But as we received this federal funding, we were setting out to establish a pathway for young adults who are out of high school, but looking to get into the workforce. So we had partnered with Youth Build Philly and built out a partnership with PowerCore PHL to make sure we had another pathway into solar jobs. And so we actually had our first cohort of opportunity youth, meaning young adults aged 18 to 30 who are out of work or out of school, complete the solar intensive program that we led this spring. So I'm excited to have Devin and Spencer. Maybe you can chime in a little more about what that experience was like. But just before I pass it over to you, Devin, I want to say that we've made incredible headway on solar here in Philadelphia with, like I said, one of the fastest growing markets in the country. We're adding about 3 or 4 megawatts of solar a year in Philadelphia now, and that's way more than we were previously. And if we look at the city's climate goals, we're still not where we need to be. The citywide energy vision that lays out how we get to 80% reduction in carbon emissions by 2050 says that we need to be adding 15 megawatts of solar a year. And like I said, we're adding 3 or 4 right now. So we really do need that solar army, and we also need that demand from Philadelphians actually going solar. So that's what Solar Week is about, inviting property owners to take action by getting a free solar assessment through Solarize Philly, considering solar for their household. And I'll share more at the end about some of the other events coming up, but I just wanted to say we do need a solar army to get us there. So thank you, Spencer, for your work. And
Thank you,
I'll pass it over
thank
to
you.
Devin. Thank you, Devin.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Devin Hamilton, and I'm the Assistant Director of Workforce Development at PowerCore. I'm going to share a slideshow that I... Cool. So today, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the Bright Solar Future program at PowerCore. We focus on young adults ages 18 to 28. And so our part of the Bright Solar Future project was focusing on young adults. But before I get started, I wanted to talk a little bit more about PowerCore. So we are a nonprofit organization, workforce development program that focuses on decreasing youth unemployment, reducing the youth violence rate in the city, and building sustainable communities. We work with, in partnership with the City of Philadelphia, AmeriCorps, and Education Works. So in order to accomplish those goals, we start off by trying to build the workforce. We focus on local talent and honing on existing skills, addressing systematic barriers to employment, aligning training and content to industry needs and projections, And then serving as a partner and a resource in equity and diversity and inclusion efforts to make sure more people who are, typically aren't represented in some of these, workforces are able to get opportunities. So what we really want to do is develop our untapped talent in the city. And so we take that approach. We work with young adults ages 18 to 28. Many of them are, not currently working, not in school. And, we focus a lot on working with people who are returning citizens or individuals who have exposure to the criminal justice system, what we call opportunity youth. And we take a tailored approach. So we, based on one's interests, strengths, and barriers to employment, we try to create a plan to get them employed. People could be in our program for 4 to 24 months. So depending on what the individual's needs are and what they're looking to accomplish, maybe they need to be in our program longer, but it can range depending on what the individual is interested in. So a big part of our role is coordinating career pathways and collaborating across sectors. So if you could see this Venn diagram, we're working with opportunity youth to train and develop them. We're also working with employer partners in the industry to match our youth talents and skills to their employer needs. And they're also, working with local government to solve problems that directly affect the people that we work with. So things like, the environment, poverty, crime, healthcare are all things that we're working with the government on. And then also local, workforce initiatives. So we play a role in a lot of those fields and working together to collaborate to make, create more opportunities for people. So individuals who enter our program do 4 months of foundations work. And basically that's full-time crew-based service to enhance the public land and steward the green community spaces in the city. We focus on, while they're doing that, we're focusing on work readiness skills, career exploration, and skill building. And so after people complete those first 4 months, they move into different tracks. And the one I'm going to focus on today, of course, is the Bright Solar Future track. So just a little bit more information about Bright Solar Future. And this is, we just started, this partnership this year. And it focuses on, again, young adults who are interested in getting into the solar industry. So there was a training that we did that was started January 6th and went from June to June 1st. Ended up being about 20 weeks, over 680 hours of paid classroom and hands-on training. It focused on electricity basics, energy audit procedures, installation, air sealing. We also focused on solar project management design, including assembly of PV system components, sizing, installation, quality assurance, performance analysis, and maintenance. And so as you can see from the picture, it was a combination of both, being in the classroom and learning material, but also, getting your hands dirty a little bit and getting to, work on trying to install solar panel on the roof. And so this is a picture of some of our students at the ECA, the Energy Coordinating Agency in Philadelphia. And they're working on, installing a roof. This is pretty early on in the class. And then after the class is complete, from June to September, students get 10 weeks of paid industry or work experience and internships in the solar industry. And then towards the end, we're working to place them, into full-time jobs in the industry. So I just want to highlight, right now, I'm focusing on, PowerCore's role, but this was a collaborative effort led by the Philadelphia Energy Authority, but also a really collaborative process with the Philadelphia Education Fund, Youth Build, the ECA, Solar States, and it was really cool to be a part of all these different organizations who cared about young people in the industry and really creating something special that you know, people can really get opportunity in this industry. And so it was really great to be a part of this group to try to put this together. So some of the you know, benefits of the partnership, more specifically for PowerCore, was just access to the industry training in solar and electrical fields, additional resource for PowerCore fellows or students, funding to support the training, gain knowledge from the organizations with different expertise, employment placement in the solar electrical industry, and just, you know, greater in community impact as working as a team, as a collective. I think we're, you know, stronger working together than we were trying to, you know, take this on separately. So PowerCore's role in the project was to recruit participants from the for the Bright Solar Future program from our program. Our role also was to reduce barriers, and we really believe in paying individuals to be in the program because people have, you know, young people have needs, they have responsibilities, and, you know, it's important that, you know, they're able to still take care of their needs while getting this training. So we, you know, provided people with, you know, pay, with transportation, and also by giving them support, you know, if they were dealing with things, and that especially came in handy as once COVID hit. We also provided professional development training. So while they were getting the technical skills, we were also providing those like work readiness skills that they needed to be successful once they got into work, and support with the transition to employment, internships, and apprenticeships. So one of the challenges that we face, as I said, we started our first group in January, and in March is when we kind of had to transition. And so, you know, Spencer Wright was a huge, shout out to Spencer, was a huge part of this transitioning our training to virtual. And Spencer, feel free to jump in if you want to comment at all on this. But, you know, students were really affected by the pandemic, and that was a huge wrench in the program. You know, they had family responsibilities. People had family members who were affected by COVID. There was an uptick in violence in the city that people were directly affected by. The home environment wasn't always suitable for learning. And so if you're going from being in a classroom where, you know, it's conducive to learning and it's a mixture of classroom and hands-on training to doing Zooms and, you know, stuff on the computer all day, it's definitely a big, you know, transition for the students. And it was, you know, it was adjustment for those hands-on learners. Like a lot of people really learn by working with their hands and, you know, holding the tools and trial and error and things like that. And to switch to a virtual format was tough. In addition, the employment market was very uncertain. And so we were worried kind of on the back end is even if we were able to complete the class and had people finish, what would the job opportunities look like on the back end? And, you know, several of the employment partners that we were working with, you know, were struggling as well. And so we didn't know whether those opportunities would be there. And just in general, I think it was just harder virtually to prepare people for what it would be like, you know, in the industry. But we were, you know, able to overcome COVID. We provided support to help students deal with life challenges. We used an online training resource, specifically HeatSpring. I'm sorry, I switched a little early. HeatSpring was really huge in coming through. They provided some online training that we could use for our class at a discounted price. And they were really huge in helping us get through COVID. And then the PEA was able to develop some virtual internships. And so there was a lot of work and things in the industry that we could do virtually. And so they pivoted and were able to develop virtual internships where people still could get connected to the industry, get some experience while still, you know, working from home. We prepared students for the NABCEP exam. And then we connected with employers via Zoom because they were, you know, of course, at home just like us. And so we were able to use that time that they had to be able to connect them with the students, so students could hear about their experience, hear about what it's like to work in the industry, and tap into knowledge and whatever mentorship they had to offer. So I just wanted to highlight some of the program successes. We had 12 PowerCore fellows complete the Bright Solar Futures program. 12 found internships, apprenticeships, or employment directly connected to their career goals. So some, were interested more in the solar pathway, some interested in electrical and various other, directions within the industry. But they were able to, find employment, apprenticeships, employment with in their career goals. 12 were able to earn heat spring certifications from being virtual. 3 were able to pass the NABCEP Associates exam. And 2 were able to obtain driver's license. One thing that was done that was really cool, the PA was able to pay for individuals to get driving lessons. And so while people were, in the class, they were able to take lessons and able to get driver's license, which, is helpful for not only your quality of life, but also being able, if you're going to work as an installer or in the industry, being able to travel and get to jobs. And it just opened the opportunities for people. So these are the organizations that, end up, either hiring our students on as interns or apprentices, or even for full-time positions. Exact Solar, Solar States, who's a huge partner in this whole program, Grid Alternatives, Arsenal Solar, Gen 3, and the water department. So these are the partners that we're able to provide our students with opportunities after they completed the program. So I just wanted to highlight some of our graduates because we're really proud of what they were able to do. So this is Tayshawn McMillan. He successfully completed the Bright Solar Future program. I'm sorry, I skipped ahead a little bit. Finished in 2020. During the pandemic, he was able to purchase a vehicle, which was huge because he was able to save up and able to purchase a vehicle, which really helped him down the line when he was able to find employment. And he was able to do an internship at Solar States for a couple months, and then he performed well and did a really good job and was hired full-time in August. He's actually working on taking the NABCEP Associate Credential Exam this month. And it's really a cool story because, if you go back to June 2019, he was just graduating high school, and now you fast forward a little bit over a year later, and he's employed as a full-time installer for Solar State. So he was someone who really, took advantage of the opportunity. So next is Cleophas Anukum. He also completed the program in June 2020. He actually was able to earn his NABCEP associate credential earlier this month. He also completed the Heat Spring online trainings and earned certificates for that. And he was able to get his driver's license as well through the PEA, paying for lessons. So he was able to take advantage, was able to get his license, and is also currently doing an internship at Solar States. He is on track to be hired. He's doing really well and is working to getting that vehicle as well. And my last graduate highlight is Robert Thompson. He also completed the Bright Solar Future program in June 2020. He earned his NABCEP associate credential. He also successfully completed Heat Spring online trainings and obtained his driver's license. And Robert was able to, he was really interested in doing electrical work. And so he was able, after a short work trial, to attain full-time employment at Gen 3 Electric and HVAC. So we're really, you know, as Spencer said, you know, really proud of some of the people that we've been able to work with. The program has really been great. And despite some of the COVID challenges, you know, people were able to, you know, really push through and really able to connect them to great opportunities within the solar industry.
Great. Thanks so much, Devin. It was really excellent to hear from the PowerCore perspective on the program. And I want to just share that we always admire the ways in which PowerCore lifts up your participants' stories. And I want to invite everyone to attend our graduation this Friday. It's at 2 o'clock on Friday. We'll be holding a graduation for the Bright Solar Futures Fellows that Devin was just speaking about, as well as the current high school cohort who's wrapping up their class this Friday. And we will be having Robert actually as one of the student speakers. So we're really looking forward to that. And I invite you all to come so you can hear from the students themselves. And actually the graduation will be followed by a career panel of young people who have gone through solar training programs and are now working in the industry, sharing their stories. So that's an opportunity as follow-up. And so I'd be interested, I know Spencer, you're here as well. I'd love to hear from you, your perspective on how we handled COVID during this class, and also your perspective as we're going into this next class at Frankfurt High School. You know, given that it's going to be virtual through November, your take on how we can make sure we're delivering the content well.
Well, I think this is where partnerships come in. You know, PowerCore, you know, Philadelphia Energy Authority, all of the partners. You know, I'll be here for a while listing them. You know, Philadelphia Education Fund. You know, all the partners that are involved in helping make this happen. You know, that we got that notice like on a Friday, and by Monday we had to go online. And a lot of these students did not sign up for that. They didn't sign up to be all online and doing summaries and reading and doing videos and all that kind of stuff, and, you know, having assignments to turn in every day. You know, some could come to class and they could just kind of hang out on the technical conversation and then excel on the roof. So, you know, it was a bit of a challenge, but, you know, majority stepped up, and, you know, with that support, you know, Devin and Angel from PowerCore, staying connected with the students, Joe Wilson from the PEA, we kept that rapport going on, that we made sure that they stayed engaged, you know, offering my information out, and Devin's the same way. If it's 6 p.m., 8 p.m., whatever, reach out to me and let me know what's going on. Let's not let you slip and fall through the cracks. So that was really, really important. Having good contact, you know, Heat Spring, a good partner. They gave us a training that normally they charge $795 for, and they gave us a really nice deal on that for our class because they wanted to help. You know, sometimes in these ugly times, good things come out of it. And a lot of folks stepped up and helped make this happen and rose to the occasion. And as far as the Bright Solar Futures program, you know, we're working directly with the new instructor. We've developed a curriculum that, you know, we're going to be able to give to him that will be a little roadmap, a guideline for how to handle this. And that we have this experience from the PowerCore class, from the current summer class that we're running that, you know, folks are going to see if they come to the graduation on Friday. You know, we've learned a lot, and we know that the most important piece is keeping them engaged, staying connected, right? Staying on top of conversations, you know, personal ones too, you know, because people are going through things. I have a student on my class now that he's really uncomfortable about talking, you know, and he's dealt with COVID in his home. He had a family member that got sick through the class. He took a couple days off. We supported him from every angle that we could. After about 3 days of being disconnected, he came back, did all the assignments, caught up on everything, and we never even had a conversation. It's just the bond throughout it all. He just felt that he needed to make this happen. So yeah, staying connected, I think, is the key piece here, and giving clear assignments and clear directives as to how to make those assignments happen.
Thanks, Spencer. And I just want to give you a huge shout out. I know Spencer mentioned that it was Friday and we knew, you know, everything was shutting down. with COVID. And on Monday, we started on Zoom. And that was really in large part thanks to Spencer. And you mentioned that there's a lot of good that can come from these moments of opportunities for partnership. And I know you reached out to HeatSpring and made that possible of having that online NAPCET learning platform. And I also want to give a shout out to Joe Wilson, PEA Solar Training Fellow, who has been relentlessly in touch with all of the instruction team and partnership team to make sure it's going to plan. And then Devin, of course, all the work you do at PowerCore, and it's been just an incredible partnership on all fronts. So thank you all for making this possible. And yeah, I'd be interested to hear what other questions we have coming up. We have time now to open it up more broadly. I know I have some questions. I know Sean, you're here as well. So either the panelists have topics you want to raise. I know we have one question that came in here we can start off with. It's a question from Jay Lynn for Devin and Spencer. The question is, how do you reach more young adults, untapped talent, to put them on paths to building the solar army that Spencer mentioned?
Devin, you want to jump into that? I know you have a lot more experience with that than I do.
Yeah, I think a big part of it is just like raising that awareness and letting them know what's out there and what's possible. And I think a lot of people come into our program and don't really know the opportunities that are available in solar and just in the energy and utilities fields. And, it's about educating them about not only is this possible, but you could do this if, you take these next steps. And by the way, you have, us to help you, support you. And so I think it's just, messaging that to the youth. And I think some of the programming that's happening at the high school level, you're going to have more people who are coming out of high school that are going to be interested in pursuing this as a career. So I think some of it's already happening, but just getting more aware and reaching out to, individuals who typically may not have, thought about this field as an option, and let them know what opportunities are there.
Right. I think social media, which I don't use that much, but I can see the benefit of it, how it's drawing more, and getting more attention to what we're doing here. We just did an info session for OIC, and the program director there, she's like, we should have thought about this a long time ago, Spencer. This is better. We're able to engage more people, not, in the personal setting like we used to do the info sessions, but more people that were able to come on, and everybody's getting better and better at this online thing, this presentation thing, that we actually have more people that are coming in and signing up now for that OIC class because they were able to get onto a platform like this. So, making lemonade from lemons, man, it is what it is. As somebody said, that people keep telling me not to say that, but, I like the way Michelle used it last night, so I'm going to use it too. It is what it is. So we make the best out of it.
Thanks, Spencer. And I want to build on that and say that having students come back as spokespeople, students who have gone through the program, so we have many of you on the webinar this morning, but to have you all come back and share with future young people who are considering following in your footsteps has been really valuable, and I think will continue to be. And I just want to share quickly, there are 2 on-ramps coming up for young people who do want to get involved in solar training and participate in Bright Solar Futures. So one is to go into PowerCore's Foundations program. Maybe Devin, you can share a little bit more about that timeline, but we will be running another Bright Solar Futures class coming up January 2021. So that's the next entry point there. And a prerequisite is to complete the PowerCore Foundations program to build that support out. And then secondly, to enroll at Frankfurt High School. So as I've mentioned a couple times, we have the first ever 3-year solar energy vocational program kicking off there in just 2 weeks. I do know that for better or worse, students tend to enroll and can sometimes switch schools even up to the last minute in Philadelphia. And the principal there told us that that's a possibility, that we would have some more students adding on in the first week or 2 of the school year. So for students who are interested in rising 10th graders going into 10th grade this fall, they would be eligible to enroll in the solar energy CTE program there. Good. Devin, do you want to chime in at all about that pathway into the next fellowship? And then we have another question that's come in.
Yeah, so for any individuals who are interested, they could definitely go to our website. It's powercorephl.org, and we're always looking for people to bring in, young people, especially individuals who've been in the criminal justice system and just young people in general. We want people to, participate. So they could get more information about our program there and then reach out to be a part of our foundations program.
Great. Thanks, Devin. Well, we have a question that has come in from Emily Shapira. What else do students need to jump into this industry? Devin, you mentioned the driver's license issue. What else are we missing, and what can PEA and beyond in city government do to help?
So I'll share a little bit there. One of the things that I think is helpful, the driver's license is helpful because a lot of the solar companies, especially in today's environment with the social distancing and everything, folk need to drive themselves potentially to job sites or in limited number of individuals in vehicles or whatever. So the more folk that can drive, and then it also shows that you've got that that step in your life, that you've made that move, that ID, that identification that you can use and put it down on your application. So, basic trainings that are out there, there's a lot of free information online, a lot of good information that they can develop a foundation, just the basics, why solar, how solar works, as far as what the PEA, you guys are doing such an awesome job. I think just continuing to push the drive towards more solar to create more job opportunities, because the program is pretty solid. We feel pretty good about it. We see the results as far as the trainees that are coming in and the information that they're learning and how they can take that into a real work environment and be successful. But if there's no jobs there, then right, it's just a lot of hope at that point. So that's what I would hope, that we could keep going.
And the question, just to clarify, was what else could city government beyond PEA do to help? And so I'd be interested if Devin, you have thoughts on that, Spencer, or Sean, as we're thinking about, up to the state or federal level, about ways that the government can support these types of programs, or that we can share this story more broadly beyond the city of Philadelphia.
I'll chime in real quick. I guess I've just been a fan of all the work you all been doing. I'm kind of the boring federal guy. I'm in DC, but the thing that matters is that money trickles down from DC on. Two things I'll say. A, everything you guys have laid out is great. I talked to you a little bit earlier about COVID and what the industry was asking for. So we oftentimes ask for, tax credit extensions and the like thereof. But a lot of things we haven't dived as deeply into is getting federal money specifically spliced off for programs like this. So I'd love to just continue to work with you all as whoever the president is going into 2020, making sure that in that budget, there's money in there that's inclusive of programs around this. As the appropriation process moves itself through the hill and we can work together, energy and water appropriations includes monies for these programs, making sure that any stimulus packages, any energy bills, that these programs and things like this are included are very, very important, as you want to make sure that you target funding towards what we need. So we can talk more and more about this, or talk all day about it, but letting your lawmakers in your city and state know what you're doing, what these programs are doing, and laying out financial impacts and what you would need to grow these programs for 5 or even 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I can add to that real quick, dovetailing on what Sean said there. Incentives. We know the ITC is fading down. Making solar more palatable, more affordable. I mean, it's not that I don't like to use the word expensive, and I tell my classes that don't use the word expensive because the prices drop precipitously from when I first came in the industry. However, it is still an investment that if people don't understand how it works, and they might see it as a much bigger investment that it is, we got to make sure we teach folk how it actually works, get our partners, PECO, and all the other organizations that are around that, are already in that energy space, open to and embracing the opportunities to create incentives, so that people get it. As long as we know the fossil fuel companies are getting what they're getting, and we don't need to get all into the details of that, but we know what they get. And, solar still needs it. And it's not that solar needs to be propped up, but it just needs to have a level playing field. And if the playing field is level and we can get more homeowners the opportunity to get it, and that doesn't just mean folk that can afford it, like pay off a system, but like we have the low to middle income program that we have going on. Those things are awesome, and we need to keep that going. And once we get that energy going in the inner city and all over the communities, I think it's just going to catch on like a wildfire.
Awesome. Thanks, Spencer. I see that I think we still have council president on, so I want to invite you if you want to chime in at all. Feel free to come off mute if you're still with us. But otherwise, I think, Devin, you were going to add something.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with, what everyone else is saying, just, the funding, making sure that raising the awareness. I think also too, if you're targeting, individuals in the Philadelphia community, making sure that you're addressing some of the barriers. So if, you offer a free, technical training, but it doesn't, address things like, people getting their driver's license or things like that, keeping things like that in mind that, are barriers to people to getting these type of jobs.
Great, thanks, Devin. Yeah, I'd be interested to hear you talk a little bit more about some of the other barriers that you've seen come up, if you're open to sharing. I know that we've spoken about the transportation piece, and we're looking to build out some long-term partnerships to really address that in a deeper way. But yeah, are there other pieces, are there gaps that we should be thinking about?
Yeah, I mean, I think, definitely the driver's license is one, but, even just access to trainings like this. When COVID hit, there was definitely a lot of barriers that were popping up as far as people's like family situations and things like that. And it made it difficult for individuals to be able to fully participate in the program. And then, for individuals who have, backgrounds and, are on probation and, have all these obligations that make it hard to work. Sometimes that could be a barrier as well. If you, have to report to your probation officer or whatnot, and you're not able to work or things like that. So I think, working together to, if someone really is interested and wants to work, kind of eliminating some of those things so that people can be their best self and put their all towards the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That's great. We have a question from Kayla Brown, who's actually a PEA intern who did the Bright Solar Futures class last summer. So we're honored to have her on our team this summer. She asked, what are other ways people can get involved in solar if they don't want to do installs?
So there are several roles, there's videos out there. There's one that I always share in the class. It's actually a Solar City commercial for them when they were in business, when we were in business then, but it actually steps through all of the roles. And I mean, it's just a lot. There's a lot of different roles. There's operations, there's obviously finances, there's sales, there's all kinds of stuff that people can get into. But having a clear understanding, I look at the installer position is like the hub of the wheel. I mean, it's about solar installation. So these installers are the hub, but there's so many spokes that come off to make the wheel. And getting that basic understanding and comprehension about how solar actually works and how it's physically installed can help you go into a lot of different directions. In the class that we're teaching right now, we have.
Uh-oh, I think we might have lost Spencer for a second. Well, yeah, Devin, do you want to chime in at all more here? I know you saw some of this.
No, it's just so many different opportunities.
Spencer, we lost you for a second.
Lost you for a second.
Am I back? Okay.
Yeah, I think you're back.
All right. So I was saying that in the class that we have now, hopefully you guys heard some of that. We have two students that are talking about, one is talking about starting his own business, and the other one, she's talking about being that in the background person, making sure that the business does operate well. So I'm like, you guys need to connect so, they can bring their energy together. But yeah, the roles, without getting into listing all of them, are really various. A place to find that information is the Solar Foundation's website. You can go on their sites, they list all the different positions and they break it down. As SNCA has information like that on their site from what I recall. ACES, most of the solar industry organizations have those lists. There's career pages on all of them. You can click on them and you can find out where the jobs are. NABCEP, they have it. And you can just Google green jobs and you can see there's thousands of them and even more are coming. And again, the wearing multiple hats is extremely important here. Being able to, switch in midstream sometimes and move into another direction can really help you out. I know it really helped my career.
Great, thanks, Spencer. One thing I'll just add it on there is that on the career panel that we have coming up this Friday, we have 1 to 2 young people who are solar installers, but we also have someone who's working as a linesman with PECO, our local utility, in their gas department, and who did the solar training program and was able to take that as his pathway. And we also have Robert, who's working for the local electrical company that Devin mentioned earlier as well. So there's many pathways out of this. Not just solar installation, but even beyond that into weatherization, electrical work, and even working with the local utility. And then within solar, like Spencer said, you could be on all sides of it, from sales to design to project management. So we're really excited to make sure all those pathways are available to the graduates coming out of the program. We know not everyone wants to be up on the roof. Good. Well, we have another question that came in. This is for PEA, so I can take it. Is what resources does the PEA offer solar contractors or energy service companies? And I would say really we're focused on getting projects done. So we do that through a variety of ways under our umbrella of the energy campaign. It's all about having dollars invested in clean energy projects. So one example is our Solarize Philly program. So we did a competitive procurement, like an open application for companies that wanted to participate. And we had them tell us, what pricing would you offer? Because one of the major components of Solarize Philly is that it's discounted below market pricing, but high value, high quality of installation. So we looked at their pricing, and we also did quality assurance assessments. Spencer did those for us out on the ground, on the rooftops, actually, of the company's projects to make sure that they're meeting best practices and industry standards in their work. So then once we've accepted companies as pre-approved solar installers through our Solarize program, we refer customers to them. So that's really the service we're providing as the Energy Authority, is that we do recruitment. At this point, we've had over 6,000 Philadelphians sign up for a free solar assessment through the program for the past 3 years. And so our team, and I want to give a shout out to Mavish Ilyas, our solar projects coordinator, and the interns who have been helping out a ton this week, are making phone calls, hundreds and thousands of phone calls to those signups to orient them to the program and then connect them along with a copy of their PECO bill, their electric bill, to our installers. And then additionally, we have relationships with the Department of Licenses and Inspections and PECO to make sure that we're reducing the timeline it takes as much as possible around permitting and interconnection. So that's one other way that we're providing support to the companies we're working with. And we actually have a session on that. I'll just say in closing, on Friday at 9 o'clock, we have a session with PECO where they'll be joining us to talk about interconnection best practices. And that session really is designed for solar companies. It's open to any solar developers working in the area. And I can make sure that the link goes out to folks on this call if you're interested in it as well. Good. So what other questions do we have? I think we still have some time here, so feel free to put them in the Q&A, or I'd want to open it up if our panelists want to add additional comments at this point.
Well, I've said this a couple of times, but from a Washington standpoint, I think we all know what worlds we need to work within. I want us to work together over the next few months, even before the election, to figure out, what Congress needs to hear. To the young folks that are on the call today, I just want to continue to encourage you. You've heard a lot about solar today. You heard a lot about clean energy. Dive into these careers. They're growing, and they're going to continue to become more robust. So I just can encourage you to continue working with Devin and Spencer and Laura and everyone in PEA, because you guys are doing darn good work that members of Congress need to hear about, and we need to highlight more.
And I'd like to write on that and say, hey, one of the beautiful things that I really like about solar is that you can make a buck and you can make a difference at the same time. Every solar module that we install is correcting. I mean, some folk in high positions are thinking and saying out loud that climate change is a hoax. And I don't know if they're living in the same world I'm living on, but I'm feeling and experiencing it every day. And I know that we all need to wake up and realize this and try to make that difference happen now. And it's been proven that renewable energy can do that. And it's an opportunity to grow a city, to grow, individuals and change their lives, that not only, again, that they're not just making a dollar that's paying bills for them and getting better health care and all the other things that come along with having a good job, paying job. But that feeling of knowing that you participated, I say it all the time in my classes, when I'm an old man sitting in my rocking chair, I want to look back and know, that we've made a difference, that we made the right decision. Because if not us, then who? And if not now, then when? Do we get another chance to do this right? To me, this is the time. And with what I heard last night, I don't know how many people listened to the DNC, and, Biden's $1 trillion, last number I heard on it, renewable energy plan. I'm excited. I'm jazzed. I tell my students, you're not just, like sitting here watching the wave. You're riding the wave. You're on the wave. The wave is going to happen. And either, as my dad used to tell me all the time, when I used to go down to the beach, he say, either you ride the wave or you get drowned by it. One of the two, because this is happening, man. You can't stop this train. There are people that are probably going to try it. But I'm confident that with all of the talent that's coming along now and the momentum that's going right now, if things happen like we know that they should going into November, it's going to be a beautiful thing. And I'm excited that our students are going to get an opportunity, and even more, to participate and ride that wave.
I would just say too, as that wave, continues to go, I think the idea of the collaboration between multiple organizations to make, opportunities happen was really powerful for me. And so, being able to work with Spencer at Solar States and Laura at PEA and, folks at ECA, it just made the whole, opportunity better. And I think, something that needs to happen more is just the collaboration between organizations. We had, solar organizations that were involved, and it was just a really collective effort to make it happen. I think that needs to continue as well.
Love that, Devin. Totally agree. Well, we had another question come in asking if the panelists would share some more about your careers. So maybe Sean, if you'd be open to starting, and then Devin, I know Spencer, you shared some, so if you want to share a little more, you're welcome to as well.
Thanks. I guess I don't know if I should give you prior to gray hair or before. I'll give you the best. No, and I'm happy. Thank you for the question. And actually, I give my age just to let you know, like, kind of my lineage. I am from Chicago, Illinois. I graduated from the University of District of Columbia in Washington, D.C. Intern on Capitol Hill in 2002. Went from intern to staff assistant to legislative correspondent, all up the ladder to become a senior legislative assistant for a member of Congress from California. And I worked on the Energy Policy Act. My boss was what's called a conferee, when members get together and they settle on what the language is going to be. My boss, an African-American member from Los Angeles, was a conferee. So it gave me kind of a unique platform to get involved in energy. So in 2007, Democrats took over the House of Representatives, 2006, excuse me. So in 2007, the kind of K Street private sector world were looking for more Democrats ingratiated in energy. I went to a company called Ameren, which was a heavy fossil fuel burning utility, 86% fossil fuels. I worked there for 11 years. When I left Ameren, they were like 56% fossil fuels. Not that that was because of Sean, but just shows you the sign of the times. And I've been with SEIA for about 14 months. So if there's any message, especially to our youth on the phone, grind up, work every job hard, because people are watching you, and the people are watching you sometimes can make decisions to take you to good career moves. So work hard.
Devin,
I could go next. So I'm born and raised in Philadelphia. Grew up here, lived here as an adult. So just really developed, just from living in different areas of the city and seeing how people are living, and sometimes the lack of opportunity that people have, became really passionate about helping people find better opportunities. And so when I was in school, I went to LaSalle University and was getting my MBA. I decided after working a brief time as a job coach while I was, going through school, decided like this is really an area that, I really wanted to be a part of, just helping connect people to opportunities. Kind of similar to solar, there's opportunities out there that some people just aren't aware of, and or just need that little bit of guidance to get to, and being able to help make that match of like, hey, you have this really, like, you're really good at math, or you're really good at this. Do you ever think about trying to do this career, or and putting those ideas in people's mind and helping them build and grow and get to a place where they could be successful. So, I've been at PowerCore for 3 years, and I oversee the workforce development team there. And before that, I worked at Community Integrated Services, where I was a business development manager, helping people find employment opportunities. So it's just something that I always really enjoyed and was passionate about, and really excited to be a part of this project as well.
So I shared a lot, I shouldn't say a lot, but I shared some about my background, born and raised in Philly, North Philly. My dad, when I was 17, career Marine, I just couldn't take him that much at the time, which now I appreciate all he did for me. But then I just was totally rebellious in the street all the time. And he did the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air thing with me and shipped me out to my auntie in Oakland, California. And I thought, oh man, I'm just going out to hang out with my aunt. This is going to be even easier. And I'm going to flow right into Oakland and do my thing. And it gave me another perspective. Number one, she wasn't easy. She was just as tough, if not tougher than my dad. She got me a job working. She worked in the stockbrokers business. She got me a job, my first real job, working for Dean Witter Reynolds as a transfer clerk, stapling, which back in the day, they used to actually have stock certificates. And all I did with my job was staple the transfer units with the right name on the stock certificate to the actual ticket, and that grew into a 20+ year career, 28 years to be exact, to where I went from a transfer clerk to a trader on the Philadelphia Stock Exchange. And that's what I was saying, how my conscious, I wasn't giving anything back. It was just all take. And again, out on a run, I just got that feeling like I needed to change. I was about to turn 50. I'm like, if I don't change now, will it ever happen? If I don't eventually be able to say to myself that I found my, that passion for real, because I thought that the stockbroker's business was a passion. It was just an opportunity to make money. So I was like, what can I really do? And it came to me, as I shared earlier, that, renewable energy, then solar. I got the training. They sent out a Survey Monkey afterwards. And I said something my dad always told me that I share with all my students: don't burn bridges. Sean kind of alluded to that, what he was saying, that don't burn bridges, man. Every time you get an opportunity to meet somebody, connect with them and make sure that, you don't step on any toes there, right? So I took the class. They sent out a Survey Monkey. I suggested that they hire somebody. They said, what type of individual do you think? I said, somebody like me. I sent them my resume. They hired me as a warehouse clerk. And then from there, it just went from one opportunity to another. And I moved through, started my own business, a minority business enterprise, made some great connections there with Zep Solar, with Solar City, with Burnham Energy doing quality and insurance inspections. All three of those things, Zep Solar, I was East Coast technical trainer. Solar City, I was an approved installer. And then with Burnham Energy, I was a quality assurance inspector. All three of those things took me on a trajectory that I eventually took a job with Solar City as Northeast Area Quality Manager. And then when they made their decision, as I said earlier, with Tesla, bought Solar City and did their workforce reduction, it was the time. Now I had all these years of experience of traveling all around the country. I got to go to over 46 different Solar City warehouses, including Hawaii. I got some really good opportunities there to get experience, but everywhere I went, I literally would document at the end of the day in my hotel room what I experienced in my phone. I had page and page and page of experiences that I was able to come back. I would ask operations managers, what are you looking for in an employee? And those things stuck with me. And then we built this training out and we've been delivering it. And this is where my passion is now as a solar trainer. I'm still doing quality assurance inspections, as Laura said, and operations and maintenance, I've moved into that pretty heavily. But the goal with all of that, literally, I take students out with me to do quality assurance inspections with me. Several of them that are working now use that initial experience as working as something on their resumes that they can share. So yeah, the opportunities are there. I just think that finding your path, getting on it, staying persistent, following up, showing up on time. Early is on time is late, late is unacceptable. I preach that to the classes a lot, is the key. As the opportunity is there, we just need to get into it and get on the wave and be ready to ride it.
Well, before we close out, we have one more question come in, and I'll have you each answer it super briefly. And maybe Morgan, you could go ahead and pull up the Solar Week calendar while we're doing this. But this is a question from one of the students, Daniela, who asks, are you happy working in solar and making it fun for kids? And I think I would sort of build on that and say, what's a moment, recently where you've felt like you're really doing the right thing, or you're really happy in your work? So if y'all could each share that real briefly while we pull up the calendar.
Real quick for me, I'll go ahead and share it real quick. It's just seeing that light bulb moment, when we're talking about, something involved, DC to AC, parallel connections, whatever. And we got students that are like, oh no, what is this? What did I sign up for? And then we find that way. We support them in all these different ways. And then you can just see the light bulb go off over their head. That's the moment that I appreciate the most. And then when students come back and they share their testimonials, I feel like a proud parent in that moment. I beam with pride, because this is real and it's happening, and you can see it in their smiles. And that change from when they first came in the class, slumped down in their seats, looking like they really didn't want to be bothered, to standing tall and proud because now they know they're making a buck and making a difference.
I'll just, briefly add to that. We're in a world of emotion and passion right now. I think one of the biggest words, or two words that are coupled together, are climate change. And I've seen a lot of teenagers, and particularly in college students, understanding, yes, solar is a good product, business entity, but also understanding that working solar also helps the environment. And coupling those two, I think, has been good for our youth, especially helping them understand that you can impact climate change with this good product in solar. And also you're helping the world, the country and the world in a coupling manner. So keep emphasizing that and letting folks know that the movement on the climate front is coupled with solar, and they can kind of run parallel.
Yeah, just to piggyback off Sean, I think I just enjoyed the best of both worlds, like being able to help young people, get into careers and get into these opportunities. And a lot of things that Spencer touched on, I feel the same way, where you see, where people are coming from, and then when they come back as alumni and now they're working, and they're proud and they're eager to share with another student, is really cool to see. But then also to be in an industry where it's, you're talking about climate change, you're talking about, solar and things like that, that's really important to the future of, the world, being, not just setting them up into any old industry, but to an industry that's, really positive is really good to be a part of.
Great. Well, thank you all so much. And thank you again to the council president who was able to join us earlier. It's such an honor to be joined by our workforce development partners, as well as you, Sean, from the federal perspective. I thought it was such a valuable conversation. I'm looking forward to the follow-up from it, of how we can share this story beyond Philly more. And just as an invitation in closing here, I want to pull the calendar back up for the week events. So tomorrow we'll be having a webinar on utility scale solar. On Thursday, we'll be having one on commercial solar, highlighting a couple of projects that recently got completed, including one through CPACE funding. And then Friday, as I mentioned, the session with PICO, followed by the graduation and career panel. So we invite you all to attend as much of that as you're able and stay in touch. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.